Welcome back to my channel, guys. If you're new, hit that subscribe button. We are trying to get me to 1,000 subscribers, and I will be able to go live, and you guys can ask me any questions that you want. And so just hit that subscribe button, you guys. And I'm also doing a giveaway for all my subscribers. Let me just grab some of the things that I will be giving away. I have this amazing acne line here. It's called our Clear Proof line. It has all the products you have to eliminate your acne and clear things up on your face, and I attest to you that this works. I have many satisfied customers. It is actually a $45 kit, and I am giving this away to one lucky subscriber. The second I hit 1,000 subscribers, we are going live. And I also have some of my 100% real nail polish strips that you just stick on. They are real polish stickers, pretty much. They're already dry. Once you stick them on, you just can't get your hands wet for 20 minutes. And if you are interested in the nails, I will give you the link below. My Mary Kay link is not active right now, but it will be after November 1st, and I will make sure to add that here as well. But again, I am not asking for money. These are products that you actually buy, and you get something in return. You're not just sending me money to my PayPal. So this is my gift to society, is doing these and covering things. And like we said, we're growing, and I'm so excited about that. So I will be doing a giveaway the second that I get 1,000 subscribers. Let's get to the chapter. Chapter 14 is basically starts out with Nikki going to the police on August 15th and telling them that she had been involved with Christoper, having an affair since the end of June is what she says, or the beginning of July. And we all know that people remember dates when you first meet somebody. People have 1-month anniversaries these days. They have an anniversary of when they first kissed. They have an anniversary of their first date. They have an anniversary of the first time they were intimate. So she remembers when they met, but this is just her way of being more vague. And at the same time, investigators were finding out Chris's GPS from his truck, and that's when they knew that his truck went straight to Survey 319 and Rogan, Colorado, the morning of the murders. So there were dozens of interviews conducted, the author says, and she is giving us some of them in the book. But in all actuality, she just covers a small portion of Nicole's first interview, Ronnie's interview, and Frank's interview. And that's all that she gives us, even though we know there are so many. She also admits that she pulled all of this from the Discovery. So I got the Discovery, so I can't get in any kind of copyright trouble, and I'm reading from the Discovery. But before I do that, I just wanted to let you guys know that the stuff that I'm about to say is what was in Nicole's interview. This is not what I believe to be true, okay? So on August 16th, the CBI agents met Nicole at the Thornton Police Department, and it was all about the case. And she had already met with the FBI, but that was not recorded. Remember, that was when they met in the park, and the FBI supposedly did not record that first conversation. And so she asked if she could get a ride to the police station in Thornton, and her father came there and met her there at the police station at the same time. And so he also agreed to speak to the CBI, Colorado Bureau of Investigation. And so the agent said that she looked very tired in her interviews. She actually said that she hadn't slept in 5 days, and that the interviews she had given the agents before, she realized that she wanted to bring Chris's clothes to them. And so the second interview, she brought back Chris's clothes and said that she did not want them in her home. And so she admitted that she deleted all the text messages between her and Chris and all of their call logs. She did say that they met in late May or early June. I told you wrong before. So, well, in her interview, she's saying that they just met in May. And that he wasn't wearing a wedding ring, and that he never even mentioned that he had a family until one day he did bring up the fact that he had 2 little girls, and she just thought that was so cute and adorable. And that he mentioned at that time that he had a significant other, but they were in the process of separating. And he told Nikki that it was a contractual agreement between the two of them. And hold on, I gotta blow my nose again. This is ridiculous. This weather in North Carolina is the only place where you need to wear a tank top, a sweater, all in the same day, because you never know what the weather's going to be like. So, he did say that they were in the process of separating, and the discovery says that Nikki was a contract employee to Anadarko, that she was working through a temp service. She actually wasn't hired through Anadarko. It was a temp service that had placed her there, and that she worked in safety in the office. And we all know that she does not work there anymore. And she said that when she first met Chris, it was at a park near her house, and it was at the end of June or beginning of July. And this is where my point about how she doesn't remember when it was is bullcrap. And that it was the first time that they had met outside of work, and that from that point forward, they talked every single day. She said he was always kind when he talked about Shanann, and that she never saw any red lights. And this was in her second interview. And she also told the agents that he was an introvert, that he was reserved around people, and that he enjoyed talking to her because she actually got him to come out of his shell. And that around most people, Christoper did not want to talk, but with her, he was outgoing and very relaxed, and he never got worked up. She also said they never argued, and that he never lost his temper, and that she never saw him mad or upset. And that he was very open-minded and rational. What a great choice of words. He was rational. And that he was open to communication and never made her feel like he was closed off. That he was very kind. They had a lot of common. They both were into fitness and eating healthy. And that he was always interested in what she had to say. And that she never got any indication that there was ever any issues. And that they spent a lot of time together at her place, or they would go out. And that she was only at his house 2 times. And that it was very brief. And that she was not comfortable in someone else's life. And that she did not want to be there. And that she respected their space. Now, I do not believe this. If you respected their space, you wouldn't have followed the dog upstairs. And you didn't even get invited over there the first time you went over there on July 4th. You came over there because Christoper had woke up to Shanann blowing his phone up. He felt bad. He wanted to go home. And you thought that him being at home would make him leave you, that he would miss his life, that he would actually have time to talk with his wife and sort things out, and that this might possibly end for you. So you hightailed it over there right away whenever he said that he wasn't going to spend those plans that you guys had made for July 4th, that he was going home. And that bothered you. And so you made sure that you reeled him right back in. And so she said that the house was right off the highway in Frederick. And this blew my mind because I never knew where 2825 Saratoga Trail was. I knew that it was in the nice subdivision of Frederick, Colorado. But I, too, lived right off the interstate, you guys. Right off the interstate, there is like a little fast food restaurant. And behind that Burger King or Hardee's, I can't remember what it was, but behind there is this huge trailer park with a swimming pool, and my husband had bought a home in there, and he ended up selling it later, but when I was choked out in Frederick, Colorado, at the hands of my husband, until I passed out, it was right off the interstate in Frederick, Colorado. So when I read this, it blew my mind even more. And that she said she didn't even remember the street. Okay, I lived in Frederick, Colorado back in 2006, I believe it was. And I remember all those details about where I lived. So she definitely knew the street. This was more of her lies. And she said that Christoper was living in the basement and that he had told her that him and his wife were ready to sell the house. And that the first time she ever went to his house was July 4th, like I just told you. And that she went there to set up the fitness app. And he made lunch and they ate and she left. Now, this was July 4th. Remember, on July 14th isn't until the sex decreased. So you know and I know if he had the nerve to make her food there that they had sex in Shanann's house. They were doing it 3 to 4 times a day. So if they were in the home long enough for him to cook and make food, then they definitely did it there. And I bet you they laughed about it. And so the second time she went to her house was the time she saw the pictures of the wife and the girls, and then she questioned him how he would possibly want to leave all that, and he said that he tried working things out with her and that it was not working, and he said that their relationship was not emotional, and Nicole tells the agents that she felt bad and she didn't wait until he was completely divorced, and that she wanted to back away at this point, and that she thought that Shanann had a beautiful life and she wanted her and him to try to fix it. And then the author even puts in parentheses that all signs point to all of this being not true. So then it goes into Ronnie Watts' interview. And you see here that Ronnie, just minutes after Chris had confessed, they shoved Ronnie into an interrogation room to talk to him. Now, we all saw that Ronnie didn't look very surprised when Chris said he was having an affair. He didn't even look shocked when he said that he killed the girls. Ronnie was looking at his phone. He was very distracted. He was not paying attention to anything. So I'm wondering if Chris told him ahead of time because his response to this was, or maybe he has the same issues that Chris does and he's just not emotional. And so Ronnie tells the agents that he's never known Chris to do drugs. He's never known him to have a mental illness. He's never been violent. And that he was a strong student. And in high school he played sports. And that he actually loves sports. And that he chose his schoolwork over dating. And that a girl actually asked Christoper to the prom. He did not ask the girl. And that Thrive had made Christoper lose a lot of weight. And Ronnie felt that he did not want to be using Thrive, but Shanann was forcing him to. And in his opinion, he thought that Shanann nor Christoper wanted to have the third baby. And that he said Shanann was extremely bipolar and had paranoid tendencies towards Cindy. And he goes into the instance about how Shanann accused Cindy of trying to kill Celeste by exposing her to the nuts that she was allergic to. And in the last few weeks that Shanann and the girls spent in North Carolina, that she spent most of her time with her parents and in her parents' home and refused to let Cindy and Ronnie see their granddaughters. And at the end of the video, he showed the agent Cindy playing with the grandkids. Now, the author goes into Frank Rzucek's interview, and that's Shanann's father, and they said that Frank told them that Chris was a great father, that he did play with the girls, that he bathed them and he took care of their needs, and that he could not ask for a better father or husband for them, and that he had never witnessed any kind of problems with Chris, but recently he did notice that Chris had gotten a lot sterner with the girls. But he did not think he would ever hit them. And he also says that Shanann had problems getting along with Chris's mom, and that Shanann felt that, or Cindy's mom felt like Shanann had taken Chris away from his family, and that the story of the nuts came up, and Frank gave his version, and the author says more was added to Frank's version by saying that Cindy had nuts all over the house, and that one of the kids were eating ice cream with nuts in it right next to Celeste. And that Shanann had called him to come get her and the girls very upset. And he said that the Watts never saw Shanann or the girls again, and neither did they. He said that he had observed that Chris was quiet and never shown emotions, and that when he came out to North Carolina, that Shanann never let on that there was anything wrong between them. And that he did not feel it was odd he did feel it was very odd on August 11th that Chris had gotten a babysitter because he had never done anything like that before when Shanann was gone. And on Sunday night, Frank said that he did FaceTime Bella and he did not get to see Celeste, but he heard her in the background, and he made a note to tell the agents that he saw Bella eating cold pizza and candy and that he had not spoken to Shanann in a few days. And he usually left her alone when she was traveling, and that was the reason why. And that the morning of August 13th, his wife was the one that told him that Shanann was missing. And so he just thought that Shanann wasn't responding to her mom because sometimes she had done that. And it wasn't until Sandra called Chris and told him that Shanann was not responding to any of her texts, and she wasn't picking up her calls. And she told Chris that Shanann had been very excited about taking Bella to school that morning and that they had not shown up. Chris then told Sandy that they had a small fight that morning and that Shanann was in one of her moods and that she was not answering his text either. And he told his mother-in-law, or Sandy said that this made her worried, and she told Chris that he needed to call around to the hospitals. And about that time, Shanann's friend called Sandy and told her that the police were at Shanann's house and they could not get in because of the security lock that would only allow the door to open 3 inches. And Frank had installed that so Celeste couldn't get out of the house. Now, she told Sandy that she saw Shanann's shoes sitting by the door and that it appeared that nobody was home. And so she called Christoper and she told Sandy that he was on his way. And Frank said that he called Chris several times and asked where he was at, and Chris assured him that he was on his way and that he was hurrying. And so the next door neighbor called Frank and told Frank that he had a video of Chris backing his truck up into the driveway that morning, and they both knew that he had never pulled the truck into the driveway because Shanann did not like the oil from the oil fields in their brand new driveway. In over a year, Frank said he had never seen that truck in the driveway. And the neighbor also said that when Shanann was gone, Christoper moved her SUV out of the garage and parked it on the street. Now, what I think happened here is that he put the SUV in the street so he could let Nikki pull in the garage and people wouldn't notice her car. That's what I personally think. But what other reason would he have put Shanann's car in the street? Unless it was part of his premeditated plan so he could get the truck all the way back in there so he could load the bodies. Either or reason would make sense. And so they said that they were concerned about him and Frank knew something was wrong, and Sandy had been talking to Shanann's friend, Nicole Atkinson, and it really scared her when they found her purse and telephone. That she knew her daughter would never leave their phone behind, and so did Frank, and that they did not believe that their daughter would ever hurt those girls, and that they did not know anything about Chris and Shanann's finances, but he did know that they had never asked to borrow any money from him, and Shanann did not discuss her and Christoper not getting along, and that she suffered from lupus, migraines, and fibromyalgia, and she had just had surgery on her neck. He also said that Thrive had helped her stop taking all those lupus medicines, and that Chris and Shanann met in North Carolina, got married, and moved to Colorado because the weather was better there. And that Chris had found a job as a master mechanic, and he went out before Shanann did. And that was because Shanann owned a house and she had to sell it before she could move to Colorado. And that they had moved to Colorado about 4 or 5 years ago. And the fact that Shanann's phone and EpiPen had been left in the house, they knew that something was terribly wrong and that Christoper had something to do with it. And that they had visited, the visit in August was the first time that she had ever stayed away from Chris that long. And that Frank felt that when she came to North Carolina for 6 weeks, that it had given him time to think about what he was going to do, and he does not believe that Chris killed his family in the spur of the moment or in a rage, that it was difficult for her, that Frank's wife was worried about her. They both were worried about her being pregnant again because it was difficult on her. And she didn't suffer from postpartum, but they did get to see her being very sick, and they just assumed that was part of the pregnancy. But it wasn't. It was from that Oxycontin, you guys. It was from the 80 milligram Oxycontin that he gave her, and that I will get more into that afterwards and why I know that he was giving it to her more than those 2 times. There is a part of the book in the next chapter that proves almost that he gave it to her a lot, and I will emphasize on that in the next chapter. Christoper did not have mental issues, Frank said, and he does not think that he ever went to a psychiatric doctor. And Frank said that on August 12th, when he FaceTimed the girls, that he knew Celeste was there, but he admitted he didn't get to see her. And that he remembers the girls asking for their mommy, and Christoper said that she would be there tomorrow. And Frank then told the officers that after the nut incident, that all of Chris's family, Cindy, Ronnie, Jamie, all of them, deleted all of the Rzuceks off of Facebook. So, the rift was there. And I'm super excited to get into chapter 15, but I will have to wait for this video to upload before I can even record it. But chapter 15 and I believe 16 are very, very long. And I am going to get most of the information out of Discovery because that's where the author got it, and she admits that that's where she got this information. So, basically, the next couple of chapters are all things you already know, except in this next chapter, there is this little tidbit of a telltale sign of why I think that she had been given these oxys a lot longer than Chris is admitting. Bye. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. You might win.